In 1967, having completed a year in Wisconsin in the Job Corps, Judy and I, with Juliet, came back to the Bay Area and lived the summer with Pat and Joe Campbell. I painted with them on their paint crew. Joe had started a paint business as part of his sociology master's program at Stanford, and he employed mostly depressed veterans working out of the Veterans Hospital there to help do physical occupational therapy with them to get them out and paint, and also he wanted to paint to make some money. And when I got there, he'd run out of veterans and he recruited me. And we had a glorious summer painting houses together. But in August, we went in on the Minam, where Joe had gone with me when we were both 14. And he'd gone again with his ex-wife when we were in our early 20s. But by now he was with Pat, and they had Eartha. So we traveled in there, and I was the packer. We didn't hire anybody. We borrowed some horses from Pat and Judy's dad and headed in there. We got rained on, and it rained steadily, kind of a misty rain, for 4 days. And Joe's back went out, and he was in the tent the whole 4 days until he staggered out at the end of the 4 days and hooked up his fishing gear and caught a small salmon right out of the river right there by our camp. But we had a wonderful time there, hunched around the bonfire, trying to stay warm and dry. But then I took Pat and Joe and Eartha and his Swedish sons, Fred and Klaus, back out on the 5th day, and then I got some more bacon and went back in. Judy and Juliet were waiting for me, and we moved the next day further in to our favorite camp area called Crystal Springs. And the day after I got back in was the opening of a special deer season, and I'd gotten a tag. And that morning, my watch didn't work, so I didn't know what time it was. But I woke up, it was pitch black, and I got dressed and got out of there, went down the river a ways where there was a log, and I thought maybe I could cross there. Usually we crossed on horseback. Thought maybe I could cross there without getting my feet wet. Sure enough, one of my feet slipped off the log, and I got my feet soaking wet. So I hiked on and hiked up on the ridge on the east side of the river there, and I hiked up and up and up. I knew that big old bucks, hang out near the tops of ridges around rocky spots, rocky rims. And I got up there as it got daylight. I walked up close to a clearing, and there was a small herd of elk that cleared out of there, which is pretty exciting to me. But I went on, and when I got all the way to the top, then I started traversing and started gradually back down. Well, I didn't get down very far when all of a sudden I saw a buck, and he'd been a little below me, only a slight distance below me, and I had slipped up on him. They get up high and look down to protect themselves against predators coming up, and so I knew that, and so I got above him. And as he started heading down out of there, I knew from long experience and talking to my dad that older bucks are stiff when they first get up, and then they gain speed as they move. Well, As he began to gain speed, I threw my rifle up and just barely got a shot off, and he disappeared. And I followed him down there, and he was very near there, dead, with his horn caught behind a small tree, or he would have slid quite a bit farther. So there I had my trophy. That was my last deer that I killed, and to me it was an epic experience to go up there all by myself before daylight and stalk a wily old buck. Well, when I went back down, I came back the next day with a horse and loaded him up, having dragged him part way down, and got him back to camp and got him in a good bag that my family always had, good cloth bags to keep the flies away. And we harvested that animal, and then we hung him up in the trees where there's a cool breeze and stayed there a couple more days and fished. I harvested a couple of salmon out of the riffle there where they were spawning, and we built a little smoker, smoked some of that fish, and took that out with us. We were kind of living like Indians, and oh, were we happy. When my daughter saw me returning Juliet into camp with that deer's horns that I brought back with me, she threw her arms up over her head and let out a happy sound. Those are happy, happy memories, but I never really went deer hunting again.